Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Preston with Bull City Reader, and welcome to today's video. Since this is my first video on the channel, I decided that I was going to do the BookTube Newbie Tag. This was a tag that was originally created by Brenda C. I found out about this tag through another booktuber named Trisha at Tell Her a Story, also with Warren at Starry Night Reader. The original tag, I believe, was only 7 questions. When I watched Warren's video, he did 10. So I added the extra 3 questions he did at the end to the end of this BookTube Newbie Tag. So let's just jump on into it.
Question number 1.
Why did you start this channel? For those that don't know, I had a blog called The Legendarium and a podcast called 30-Minute Author Interviews, even though I could never keep the interviews at 30 minutes. Rarely was I ever at 30 minutes. It was normally 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. It just depended. But anyway, I focused on the indie side of publishing and not traditional publishing. Ran that for several years, and the place that hosted my website ended up closing. And so my website went away. The podcast can be found on YouTube still. And at the time that the website was going down, there were some personal things going on, and the podcast and blog just kind of seemed like a chore. And so I haven't done really anything in the book community for going on like 8 months now or something like that. I wanted to jump back into the book community somehow. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do another blog or another podcast. And then I saw some BookTube channels, and I just started watching their videos, listening to their videos, and I thought it would be something that I would really enjoy. So that is why I created this channel. And another question that's not on here, we'll do like 1B as a question, is where did the name come from? And so it's called Bull City Reader, and people want to know, why is it called Bull City Reader? Well, the city I live in is known as the Bull City, and I'm a reader. And there was no, when I did Google, there was no Bull City Reader that was taken. So that's why I came up with Bull City Reader. I also thought it sounded cool.
Question number 2.
What are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Like I said in question 1, before, for a while, I was really heavy into the indie community, so I might know some authors and some books that aren't very well known and might become your favorite read or favorite author. That was one of the reasons why I had the blog and podcast, is I enjoyed sharing with people authors that I've discovered and books that I've discovered. And I've always liked, even before I got into reading and I was heavily into music, when I was into music, I liked finding bands that maybe people hadn't heard of or were fairly new. And so I like sharing with people authors that I've read that maybe they haven't heard of, and books they haven't heard of. And who knows, it might become one of your favorite new authors or favorite books. So I'm hoping that maybe that can bring a unique thing. Also, another thing that I think makes the channel stand out a little bit, I would have to do some more diving. Like I said, I'm new to this BookTube community, but there's not a lot of guys that I can tell. There are a few that I follow. I follow Warren at Starry Night Reader, like I mentioned, Jesse the Reader, and Brandon the Book Addict. Those are the 3 that I'll watch. I guess I'd have to really dive deep, but when you go to YouTube and search BookTube, it's a lot of women that come up. So I'm hoping that I can bring maybe a new voice to the community, different perspective, I guess you can say. I hope that didn't come out wrong. Probably did, but anyway.
Question number 3.
What are you most excited for about this new channel? I'm excited to learn about video editing. I was able to learn about podcasting and editing audio for the podcast. So I'm kind of excited about learning to edit videos. So bear with me as I'm learning. I'm sure I'll get better as I go along. So that's one thing I'm excited about. I'm also excited to get back into reading. I went into a heavy reading funk for a while. Last year, I was just so busy with the blog and the podcast. I think I read 3 books last year, and when I thought about it, man, that sucked, and it kind of depressed me. Because I loved reading, and I loved sharing books, and so to only read 3 books last year, of course, like I said, we did have some personal issues go on, and it made reading hard. So I'm excited to get back into reading. I'm excited to learn the video editing side of stuff, learning how to do it and getting better.
Question number 4.
Why do you love reading? I heard another booktuber say it, and I couldn't remember who it was. I wish I could. Sometimes I just want to escape when I get home from work, or there's just too much bad and negative stuff going on in the news, that I like to read to just escape, man. Sometimes you just need to get away, escape to a new world, jump into a book, and just read, man. And sometimes stories are just great. Also opens you up to new ideas that maybe you didn't think about. Can get your creative juices flowing. I wouldn't have started a blog and a podcast if it hadn't been for reading. I wouldn't have started this BookTube channel if it hadn't been for reading. So yeah, I just love reading because I can escape. I also like playing video games. I'm really into PUBG right now on the Xbox. So if you want to play sometime squads, hit me up. Let me know. Try to work something out.
Question 5.
What book or series got you into reading? I'm going to sound like a cliche. Seriously. The book that got me into reading: Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. There's another question as to why I got into reading, a couple questions down that Warren added. So I'm not going to say why the Harry Potter series yet. Let's come back to that. Let's jump to the next question.
Question number 6.
What would you ask your favorite booktuber? There are 2 booktubers, and this is going to be so uninteresting for y'all that don't do BookTube and you're looking at books to read and authors to find. The 2 booktubers I would like to ask a question. I know it says 1. I'm breaking the rules. It's my channel. I can do what I want. I would like to talk with, and I'm sorry in advance because I'm probably going to say your last name wrong, and I'm sorry. It's Pierre Ford, maybe is how she says it. I'll link to all the people I mentioned down in the description, but Pierre does an awesome BookTube channel. I watch all her videos. She's from Australia, I believe. She reads kind of the same stuff that I read also. I really enjoy her channel. I love her setup. I would want to know, and it's the same question I would ask to Emma at Emma Books. I love both of their channels. I watch all their videos that they put up along with other people, but I always make sure I watch these 2 videos. I would want to know the setup that they use. What camera are you using? What lighting do you use? What microphone are you using? Because I really enjoy their channel. Like I said, the behind the scenes video editing kind of stuff. That's why I'd want to ask them those questions.
Question number 7.
What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? One of them is I'm a slow reader. If I read 1 or 2 books a month, I'm freaking ecstatic. A lot of booktubers are reading like 5 books a month, 4 books a month, like a book a week. I would like to get to that, but I do have a job. You know, I have a 9-to-5 job. I'm married, so I like to hang out with my wife. We have 2 dogs who are in the other room. I'm sure they'll probably make an appearance in one of my videos sometime. I'm surprised they haven't walked in here to see who I'm talking to. I like to hang out with my wife, my dogs. So finding the time to read, I would like to read more than 1 or 2 books a month. So I'm hoping that this channel helps me read more. And also the video editing side of stuff. Like I said, my video editing is probably going to be rough. So please just stick with me in the beginning. And hopefully it gets better over time. I think those are going to be the challenges I run into the most.
Question number 8.
When did you start reading? So this is when we're going to come back to Harry Potter. I hated reading growing up. I know a lot of booktubers were readers growing up. I wasn't. I did not like reading. I was in sports. I was in Boy Scouts. I was in the marching band, youth group at the church. Just reading didn't interest me. And then one day I met a girl who is now my wife. And she told me that I should really read and I should check out the Harry Potter series. And because of a girl, I started reading more. And I read the Harry Potter series. I started reading it in 2004, I want to say. I want to say it was 2004. I can't remember how many books were out then. I know I did go to a couple release parties at bookstores for the last couple books. But I would actually read the books while I was in class at college. I was taking a math class, and it was very easy, had an A average, and it was kind of boring. So I would read the Harry Potter series. I think I read several of the books during the semester. So yeah, that's when I started reading. I'm fairly new to reading, haven't read many of the classics. And like I said, I was heavily involved in the indie community for a while. I still like to read indie books, but I'm also trying to mix in some traditional published people behind me, or a lot of the books that I want to read. I've read some of the books that are up here behind me. I've got more bookcases over here, another one back there. We've got 2 out in the living room or dining room. So my TBR list is long. Want to keep adding to it. But anyway, so that's when I started reading.
Question number 9.
Where do you read? My couch, my bed. If we're traveling in the car, I know this is boring. That's where I read.
And question number 10.
What kind of books do you like to read? As you can tell behind me, there's a lot of, fantasy. There is sci-fi. There's YA science fiction. I'm looking at my monitor to see the books behind me. I'm not big into erotica. I don't read erotica. I'm not huge into romance. I'll read a few YA contemporaries, which I'm going to record a review right after this for one. But I mainly like to read YA sci-fi, YA fantasy. I like to read dystopian, adult sci-fi, adult fantasy, adult dystopian. I like to read mysteries and thrillers. Those can be really fun as well. So those are kind of the genres I like to read. But anyway, guys, this video is getting a little long. Thanks for staying with it all the way to the end. And until next time, guys, keep reading, and I'll see you next time.